Hey everybody, I hope you are relieved that you don't have to go out this morning because we're closed until 10 a.m. Even though where I live, we have only gotten rain and just a brief dusting. I know that people who live west and further north, it might be a completely different scenario for you, but I'm in Milford and 20 minutes away from campus, and we have nothing on the roads right now. That said, I did briefly think about holding a synchronous Zoom session, but again, I decided against that after thinking a little bit more about it, because if you have a class on campus that starts right after our usual meeting time, you would need that time to travel to campus. So it would be kind of silly to have you try to Zoom in and then try to travel. The other reason I decided not to meet on campus was most of our class time is actually going to be devoted to actual writing. So it didn't make sense to gather on campus when you can write in the comfort of your own home. Again, if you are then traveling to campus, then you don't have a whole lot of time to spend on writing, but there it is. So I am recording this session in the hopes of explaining a few things that we would have gone over in class. The first thing I want to take a look at, and I'm going to share my screen here. This is the week 3 overview page, and you will notice that we have several assignments. We took some time on what day is it? We took some time on Monday talking about reading strategies and annotation. And you have the homework assignment that is to annotate pages 35 to 40, which is reading like a writer in the writer's practice. I'm going to open up this page because I actually did not do that for you in class to explain a little bit more what I'm looking for as far as a submission. So you'll read through the handout from the UM-RET lab called Academic Reading Strategies. And that just kind of highlights, I'll actually open that here. That just highlights some of the things that we do, some of us who are naturally find reading to be easy, do these things. You scan for information, you skim the text, you might actually ask yourself some questions, and use certain strategies. You know, you might ask why I'm reading, what is the thing that I'm reading, what's the purpose. So establish your purpose for reading, consider what might be coming ahead in the reading. And so that involves things like previewing the text, looking at headings, any figures or tables, glossary, anything that's bolded. And of course, in the writer's practice, he has on pages 35 to 40, there are several headings there and subheadings that talk about the various parts of the rhetorical situation that we discussed in class on Monday. So what I would like to see, if you have a physical copy of the text, I want to see you mark up the text, annotate in a way that makes sense to you. If it means highlighting, pull out those highlighters and highlight some passages that have some meaning for you, or things that you might want to remember. It may be a definition of genre. It could be a question that Warner asks, whatever is important to you in that section of the reading. If you don't like highlighters and you want to underline in pencil, that's fine. Or you could use one of the digital strategies that I talked about in class as well. That said, and if you take any notes on the reading in a separate notebook, you can do that as well. Then what I want to see for the submission is for you to take a photo. You can take it with your phone, or if you are working on a computer, you can usually do print screen. And I have some directions for both Windows and Mac here of how you can take a screenshot on a computer. I will open the Windows one first. And there are two different ways that you can do it. There's the snipping tool by using the Windows logo key, Shift and S. That will give you the option to actually snip part of your screen. I wonder if this will actually work for me while I am doing the video here. Yeah, so if you see that, that just snipped something and it sent it to my clipboard in my computer. Likewise, you can use the print screen. There's usually a print screen button on your computer keyboard. Use print screen, and then you click the window that you want to copy and paste that image into whatever program or application you choose to use. For me, sometimes I'll just paste it right into Word, or if I just want to save it as an image, then I would paste it into Paint, for example. That's just the application that I use on my computer because it's the easiest one for me to use. So you would follow the same instructions. If you're a Mac user, there's similar instructions of using Shift Command 4 or Shift Command 3. And you would do the same thing. You would paste that image into whatever application you want to do and make sure that you save it to your computer. So if you have more than one page that you want to show or multiple images, then you would take multiple screenshots, put them into a document, save that document, and then upload it into Canvas. You can also upload multiple images if you prefer to do that. It does not have to be in a document. Whatever is easiest and whatever works for you is fine by me. I just want to see that you get the hang of annotations, because I feel this is a necessary skill that you're going to be using throughout your college classes. Learning how to annotate and learning how to synthesize that information that you're reading so that it makes sense to you and you can actually build new knowledge from the stuff that you're reading and incorporate it with things that you already know. So that should hopefully not be confusing and shouldn't take too long for you to do now that you understand, and I've given some explanations of how to do a screenshot. Again, with your, you can do the same thing with your phone and just upload those images through Canvas if you don't want to put them into a document. Either way is fine. So that is the annotation assignment that's due on Sunday. Then we have the in-class writing. So my intention was for us to kind of brainstorm and collaborate together. I know it's a small class, but it's good sometimes to bounce ideas off of one another. So you can consider this activity as being part of the Find a Model that Warner mentions in the writer's practice. So I'm actually going to go into the writer's practice and into that writing prompt. He says in the second section of the prompt to find models, right? So you should go out and you should find some examples of this type of writing. So we were going to spend time looking for some reviews online. It could be movie, a book, a product, maybe looking through Amazon or Yelp or anything like that. If you were working on this at home and you have print things that you could look through, you could look at a newspaper or magazine or a website that is devoted to reviewing various things. One that comes to mind is like Consumer Reports, which does all these different types of reviews and evaluations on products so that consumers can get the most bang for their buck. So anything, it's really wide open for you. I just want to see you write a review. So look for some of those models and try to find a short review for this exercise, and then answer the following questions based on that model. What is the subject of the review? Who do you think the audience is for the review? What is the reviewer's recommendation of the subject? Do they endorse it or do they say it's crap? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. What reasons or evidence does the review give to support that recommendation? And is there anything you wish to know more about the subject that isn't in the review? What do you wish you knew? If there's something more that, maybe there's a feature that the reviewer overlooked on this product that you might be interested in. So if there's anything else that you wanted to know that the reviewer did not include, write down that answer. So choose one model. It doesn't have to be a bunch of things, just one model. Evaluate it for the subject, the audience, recommendation, the evidence for that recommendation, and if there's anything else you want to know. So hopefully that is pretty clear. And this is kind of a preliminary step for actually writing the essay. So let me go back to the essay. Should I? So read the writing prompt title, Should I? I'm actually going to go to the pages in the ebook. I actually purchased the ebook as well, so I could use it to project in videos when I needed to. So once again, you're going to choose your subject. Whatever you choose to review, it's up to you. The suggestion is pick something you've never experienced specifically, but with which you're at least a little bit familiar. So if you have never seen a horror movie, probably not a good idea to choose a horror movie to review. A good subject intersects with your own experience and enthusiasms, but it's important that you haven't yet experienced the specific subject itself. So Warner wants you to come at this as a complete new experience for you so that you experience it the same way that your audience would be experiencing. So in the other assignment, you have found a model, you're studying the model, then you think about the type of thing that you want to review. The suggestion in number 4 here is to experience your subject. So you want to take good notes on your experience for use as you write your piece. Think about whether or not the subject should be experienced only once prior to writing, or if it's the kind of thing that you need to take a look at from various angles and experience it multiple times before writing it. That might be the case, especially for a project that you use. For a movie, it might not be practical for our purposes to watch and rewatch. The same for a book or something like that. And then he asked here, what are the differences in these kinds of subjects? I don't know. I don't think you need to address that question in your writing. How does this make for a different piece? What role does the audience for your piece have in these choices? Then you want to think about your audience, right? Think about the type of knowledge that your audience might have. If you're assuming that your audience is someone close in age to you, so not me, someone who's roughly in similar circumstances as yourself, and who has a similar experience, that is someone who you consider your peer, you're going to write for a different audience, right? It's not going to be tailored for me. It's written for that specific audience, which will likely be a younger person. Certainly somebody under the age of 50. So think about the type of knowledge that your peers have, right? What do they know about your subject? What might they need to know in your review? And when will they need to know it? When should you avoid going overboard and sharing information? So if you're reviewing a movie, you might not want to give a spoiler alert, but at least give a general idea of the things that you liked about the movie or maybe disliked about the movie. And based on that recommendation, your audience can choose whether or not they want to experience that movie, right? And then you will go ahead and draft. Depending on how the writing process has been going for you, you can submit a draft early for me to look at if you want to, or you can have somebody else take a look at it before you submit it to Canvas. But please keep in mind that you always have the opportunity to resubmit your work if you're not happy with the first draft that you submit to me. I've been pretty lenient for these first few papers that you've written because this is like, this is a learning process and I don't want you to get discouraged. Think of it as conditioning, right? You are conditioning those writing muscles. You are getting used to the process of writing, getting used to thinking about a subject and choosing a subject, and choosing a topic, and physically getting down to the task of slapping together words and phrases and paragraphs and putting them together in a way that makes some sense, right? And the more that you practice this in various ways, the easier it's going to become when you're faced with a longer writing task. So I'm encouraging you to do the best you can, but don't feel like it needs to be perfect right off the bat. There will be ample opportunities for you to come back and rework things and resubmit them if you're not satisfied with the grade that you've been getting. Okay, so hopefully that makes some sense for you as far as the type of reviewing that we're looking for in this assignment. Again, make sure that you stick to the MLA format. Basically 2 to 3 pages, just like we've been doing, which is roughly 500 to 750 words, and upload your document. You know the drill. So the other thing that I want to address here, and I go back to the week 3 overview. I found this link from Grammarly. Grammarly is a website that's devoted to helping you improve your grammar and improve your writing. I highly recommend taking a look at it if you struggle with some of these things. But this article I thought would be helpful to explain a little bit more how to write a review, right? So a review is basically an opinion. It is a recommendation of something, right? So reviews look a certain way. They appear a certain way. They're a type of genre, right? If you think about it, when we were talking about genre, it's a type of genre. There is a certain approach and there are certain elements to a review that you might not find in, let's say, a research paper, right? Because we're concerned about your opinion. What do you think about this thing? Do you recommend it to people like you, or do you have the opinion that it's really not the best thing based on the evidence that you present? So the suggestions here is to have a basic thesis. It doesn't have to be an argumentative thesis, but it should at least let your audience know what it is that you're reviewing, right? So the examples here, it could be as straightforward as I really like this meal, or as complex as these shoes took a while to wear in. If you were telling a friend about it, what would you want their main takeaway to be? So that is essentially your thesis. Then you want to make sure that you include some likes and dislikes for whatever it is that you are reviewing. If the review is critical, try to find at least one positive thing to include. I think that's a very good advice, and that's something that we will actually carry over into peer review. I do encourage you to think critically, but also to say what's good about things that your peers write. And we'll talk about that more in the coming weeks. But there has to be at least one positive thing if you are having more of a negative review of whatever the thing is you're reviewing. Then, of course, you're going to include a recommendation. You might want to have a star rating. But when people skim your review, they'll probably check the bottom for an idea of whether or not you'd recommend the meal, the album, the hike, whatever it might be. So, if you're an outdoorsy person, there might be some really wonderful trails that you think are worth people traveling to. by all means, feel free to review something like that. Don't think that it has to be a specific physical object that you go out and buy, right? It might be an experience that you think people could benefit from. And then they have some suggestions for writing a book review, writing a movie review, a restaurant review, and then some other quick tips. You want to judge the product, the thing that you're reviewing for what it is, right? Not necessarily, and the suggestion here is if you're reviewing a McDonald's, don't complain about how you weren't waited on hand and foot, because that's not what McDonald's do. You need to have reasonable expectations, right? You also want to assume the best, especially if it's coming to talk about food or about art, music. You are likely writing this review on the internet. Yes, let's assume that somebody else is going to see it, and possibly the creator of the subject that you are reviewing might see it. Assume that the people who made this thing weren't out to get you. Assume the best of them. And then, of course, you want to check your writing. Please make sure to proofread, because that just presents you in the best light possible. If your spelling is really, really bad and you don't take the time to look over it, that can make you seem less credible as a reviewer, right? We have to be concerned about credibility, that ethos, right? When we're writing for the public. Make sure you don't use words repetitively. And of course, Grammarly can help to make sure your review is effective as possible. So yeah, so that's just a little bit about how to write a review. Hopefully you will have a lot of fun writing this. Again, be creative, flex your creative muscles. Don't be afraid to use some humor if you feel humor is appropriate. Test yourself by using interesting language and stretch yourself a little bit. I look forward to reading these reviews. I really do. I always look forward to seeing what students come up with in these prompts. And I have to say, I've been quite impressed with the work that you've submitted so far. So keep up the good work. And if you have any questions, I will be available during our class time from 9:30 to 10:50, actually on into 12 o'clock probably. I will keep my Zoom room open, so you can just come on in. I will provide the link in the announcements if you feel like you just want to drop by and ask a question. As long as you see my picture up there, that means I'm aware. You just need to knock on the door and I will pop in. I'll probably be doing work in another window, but I'll keep the Zoom room open. My sound will be off, but I'll be able to hear any notifications when somebody comes in. Okay? Take care, everybody. Stay safe. If you have to go out and drive and you're in an area where there's more snow or ice accumulation than where I am currently. And I will see you next week. And everything's submitted by Sunday. But if you want to submit earlier, that's fine too. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.